Emily, Britt,
Here.
Paul Nelson,
Here.
Jack Munich,
Here.
and Brad Hawk is here. We have everyone here, so we certainly have a quorum. So let's start with opening invocations and pledges. Would you join me, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great country and community we live in. We thank you for the freedoms we enjoy. We thank you for the opportunity now to serve our community through this mud. We ask that you watch over us tonight, that all that we do would be for your glory, your honor, that we would have open minds to know how best to serve our community. And all decisions we make would be for your honor and your glory. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen. Going to pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag, on the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Any comments from the public? No. No. Okay. Any requests for adjustments? Okay. Consent agenda items 5 through 9. They're in the package. Anybody has any comments, questions on those? I have one comment. Bottom of page 2 talks about the River Authority will seek direction from the trustees regarding the water line replacement project at the November meeting. I don't think that happened. That was, so make sure you guys are aware from a trustee standpoint. We didn't do that in November. We had considered that in October. You guys saw the same information in
Right.
October.
Right.
No new action was taken in November.
Yeah, it was by the November meeting, but we ended up doing it in October. So like you said, that's correct. So
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the,
Accept the consent agenda.
a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as incorporated in the package, say yes. Aye. Okay. Ed, are you Chris today?
Nope, Jacob is Chris today.
Okay, sorry.
Good evening. Copy of the operations reports. They're starting on page 14. Nothing out of the ordinary for the month, October. So happy to take any questions. Also want to note that I think it's on page 24 that starts basically showing an overview of the projects and status they're at currently. They're going on, and then a few pages past that, page 42 is showing just aquifer level graphs, just for your information. And on the project report, this is planned to be added twice a year to the operating report.
So elephant in the room is the 15% water loss in September. We talked about it last week. Any updates on that?
we're working through it. We've identified some potential reporting errors from the new billing software that might have accounted for some of that. So we're working through that with them right now.
Okay, so we think it's on the WWA side.
Possibly, at least a portion of it. Yeah. I don't know that we found all of it on the big number. I think we found the June one and partial of that other high month,
Okay.
which was what, October?
June and September.
September, yeah.
June and September. Two big ones.
Just out of curiosity, 55, 45 in the blend for the month. Why the?
So that was good. That's so far for September, October. You got to think we are in a dry spell right now, so the wells are running a lot more. That's probably, it'll end up balancing out throughout the year.
And on page 52 starts the Bear Branch monthly operating report.
Before we jump to that, can we do a flyby on the aquifer levels?
Mhm.
So would you like to comment on any significance of of them or the trees that are there, or we have to do our own interpretation?
Well, over the years, there's been a decline, which this does represent. Keep in mind that the first two, and it's page 43, 44, that's the Evangeline Aquifer. And we have quite a number of wells in the Evangeline, but we only pump 15% of our groundwater capacity out of the Evangeline. And then on the Jasper is page 45 to 46. And you can see that's, you look just across the 15-year period, it's hasn't dropped as much.
Which wells do we use the most?
The Jasper.
Jasper wells, and those are the even numbered ones?
They're, the majority of them are the odd number, are the Jaspers, except for water wells 1 and 2 are opposite.
So we have 37 wells. The even numbered ones are Evangeline, odd number ones are Jaspers.
The number of wells doesn't exactly correlate to total water flow. So you gotta, it's,
But are they all on these charts? All
Yes.
the wells?
Yes, that's
So-
why,
The general, yeah. I think
that's why the line is so difficult to read.
Yes. And I thought that must include all the wells, but I just wondered, I've never quite understood how, which ones are, where we're receiving surface water and where we're not.
That's in the water plants.
That's at the plant.
And so the wells are delivering
Right.
to the
Yeah.
plants and we're mixing with the surface
Yeah,
water.
most of them are remote wells,
Yes, yeah.
Most are what?
are remote wells.
Yeah.
They're not sitting at.
Not at.
All the water plants do have water
I
wells,
understand. Yeah.
but most of them are off-site, just remote.
Not associated with the plant itself.
Well, except for they're piped to a certain.
So does this have to do with only our usage,
Yes.
not where the actual total
Well,
aquifer is?
this is a resultant of our wells, yes, but the aquifers don't know the difference of geographic boundaries, right? So
True.
This is an indication, you could argue that this is an indication of the aquifers themselves, right?
But like Conroe is pulling, everybody's pulling.
Still from these two aquifers, yeah, the
Yeah.
Evangeline and the Jasper.
Just 10 miles apart.
Yeah, so
So
the
this
takeaway,
reflects,
the takeaway that I look at this, and we started to see this in 2015, is probably the easiest way. They all will do this, but look at page 45, just because it's more profound. You see right at 2015, leading up to 2015, it's a steep trend, right? And then what happens in 2015? That's when the surface water in Montgomery County occurred. So the wells theoretically are being supplemented by surface water.
But Conroe's wells, these are not really related to that. I mean, they're taking the aquifers down, but they might not be doing the same trend, depending on what they're doing, how much surface water they're taking.
And they're only getting about 35% surface water. Well, that's changed since September.
They vote that. I don't know what the percentage is if they say there.
But I would feel like they're doing just like the same we are.
The other thing to note, if you look at page 45 in the zigzag, the high point is the February, March readings.
Yeah.
And the low point is the September readings.
August, September, the
Yeah.
late summer.
The ones after the hard summer months of pumping and ones after winter months.
And the USGS does it in December, January, when the pumpage is least likely to have an effect.
okay, thanks for adding that commentary. I think it was kind of dangerous just to have the data and no
It's good.
interpretation.
Yeah.
So we are seeing well levels continue to decline. And it does show some relationship with consumption of surface water.
But again, I said, like, if you go back to the USGS, these numbers are a whole lot better than they used to be. You have to look at
Because of
20 years.
surface water delivery. Otherwise, it would have been more of a continuous decline.
You can see on 44 and 46, The blue line is the demand for groundwater, where it came down when surface water came out, and that's when the levels
Right.
bumped back up a little bit.
Oh, so that could be.
And then over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a significant amount of growth, particularly in East County and North County, which I think is continuing to tax the aquifers a little bit.
Right.
Especially when Lone Star is, allowing a lot of those wells to proceed under the DFC, the current DFC.
Mhm.
So that brings condition.
Any other comments or questions for Jacob before we let Ed talk about the dam? Is the dam or the,
It's just the monthly maintenance report that we provided, only we've expanded the report a little bit. You can see that on page 52, the 4 weeks, 5 weeks worth of maintenance history. We've been dealing with trees down, which is on the middle of page 53. And then there's the update on the various projects. Be happy to answer any questions. And then the picture of the directors that attended the tour of the Bear Branch Dam. It's grainy enough, so no photo ID could occur, but we know who was there.
I would say that it was a great tour.
Yeah.
Good turnout, and I think the folks that went all learned some things. Okay. Anything on Eric, I guess you have the next one.
Yeah, that application is with the Corps of Engineers, so we're still waiting on their determination whether they're able to move forward to the next step of doing the 90-day review.
Okay. And then we have the pay application.
We do, there is one, but Mud 7 has no work that was done within it. So there was a couple different districts that had work this month, so no action, no payment for y'all.
Okay, that takes us to item 13, and Margaret's going to present an update on the EMA 14 meeting and the Lone Star Open Forum for public water suppliers.
Well, it was a great meeting. We were given an invitation and we had to apply and send an email. And a number of people of the public came to watch the presentation put on by the Lone Star Conservation District. It was extremely informative for someone like me who's never been to a meeting. It was a moderated panel discussion on different topics about the groundwater and how it's regulated, governed, etc. And the panel consisted of mostly lawyers from Austin. All of them were lawyers from Austin because they're the ones that deal with the issues that come up as a result of the rules. They split up the agenda, giving us a background of joint planning and what the district VFCs are. And they talked about when it was created and the issues that have come up and which bills govern our groundwater. And what was really interesting was that we have all these rules about groundwater, but property rights supersede most things, right? The rights of the property owner. They have the rights to the water that's in their land. There's no definition of what kind of water and how deep they can go and where it is and where it begins, where it ends. But definitely the rights of the property owner supersede most things. One of the other things that was interesting was that they want to keep any discussion of what happens with groundwater out of the court systems and more in the legislature and among all these committees or commissions. I think one of the things that was startling was that you could actually own property, take the water out and sell it. And no one can say anything about it. there are just basically two ways that you could really argue that someone is taking your water out of your land. So if you had two neighbors and one neighbor was sucking it dry and the other neighbor thought that this was bad, he would have to take the one that's sucking it dry to court and prove that either one, they're wasting the water, or two, that they are maliciously pumping the water. And those two things are very difficult to prove. They also discussed the rule of capture. So the rule of capture has to do more with liability and than it does with the other rule, which is the property rights. Or so that was interesting. Then they talked about the DFCs and what they can do. They said basically that the property rights of the owner supersede the DFC. So they cannot deny a permit. If they deny a permit, it's most likely that it could go into litigation. So they can sort of put some parameters on it, but not really. And that was interesting to me because I would think that us as the public would have more rights to say what happens with water, particularly at the different levels that water occurs, but we really don't. They also talked about how they monitor the aquifers, what kinds of measures they use, what their planning methods are, because they're supposed to have a 50-year plan that they look at every 10 years. And they were discussing amongst themselves whether the 10-year mark is really doing anything, whether it's really effective. Does it matter that you look at 10 years? You should always be looking at it, was their comment. And there's different ways to measure whether an aquifer is being depleted or not. And there can be discussion about it. So that was, there's no set standard about where wells can be built, how far apart they are in each county. So it's very loose. It's not very stringent, I feel. There's no set rules.
Well spacing.
I thought there was well spacing rules in here.
Yeah.
Per county,
Oh,
yes,
county.
every county can have different spacing,
Okay, yes.
but
Yes.
it's
You're talking
not,
Statewide.
it's not uniform.
I see.
I
I
guess
see.
is what
No,
my
it's
point is.
That's fair. That is correct.
And so that makes it interesting because you could be sitting next to a county that says 2 feet and another one that says
Gotcha.
6 inches. So it's very wishy-washy in that regard. There's not really a rule about how far down you can take a well. I mean, they did talk about what's called a MEG, and the MEG is very, it's not a set standard. It's just something they talk about. There has been discussion to take wells down to their lowest level. It's not recommended, but it can be done. I mean, there's not a rule against it. So very, very interesting meeting because I felt we had more regulation built into our laws and statutes, but there really aren't. The other thing is that the conservation group or district doesn't deal with subsidence. That's a separate entity.
There is no entity in this county.
Oh, okay.
But subsidence is one of the considerations they have when they issue a well permit.
Supposed to.
So,
Yeah, I mean, legally, it's a consideration. Okay.
yes,
Within Montgomery County, our conservation district has minimized the influence of subsidence.
but
Okay.
if you remember from that presentation that the lawyer did, she said, what is subsidence? What is good subsidence? What is bad subsidence? I can tell you that in Houston, there's a foot of subsidence. Here, you don't have anything in the woodlands. And I was really shocked by her attitude about subsidence because I feel that any subsidence is
Well,
bad.
we're also about 100 years behind Houston in pumping.
Good point.
That's why, we're just getting started.
Well, it was interesting because some of the attitudes and one of the things that they expressed was that Governor Abbott opened up Texas for business and we have to support that. And we're open for business. Property rights supersede, the general public, and we can't really sue the conservation district, and that they're pretty protected against lawsuit. So that was an interesting comment because I felt like we would have more recourse on this subject since it is for the public good to be conservative, etc.
Do you have a list of the lawyers?
Yes, I do.
I think I know all of them.
Samia Broadway, Greg Ellis.
Greg Ellis is the counsel for the subsidence district.
Ed McCarthy
Ed McCarthy's just a water peddler.
and Howard Slobodin.
Oh, no.
So they were the panelists.
Well, but Stacy Reese. moderated.
Stacy Reese was the
And
moderator.
moderator. Okay, so she led the discussion.
Yes.
I feel like I need to take a 5-minute break, but if I could just say, it's interesting that you say that can't regulate, can't do spacing, can't do this, and can't do that. Before Stacy got to be their attorney, we did all those things. And we did regulate, and we were well within our rights to do so as a district. And we did establish DFCs based on science, and we didn't talk about doing anything to the bottom of the aquifer. So all those things changed when the board changed, and it's in the same sense. And all I can ever hear from them is another excuse about why this isn't really a problem. And as far as water sales go, if you remember, you may be too young to remember T. Boone Pickens. Do you remember him?
No, I don't.
Well, that's because it's a long time ago. And T. Boone was a rancher and a money man up north, and he was taking water to get to Fort Worth and Abilene and Amarillo, taking ranch water out of the Evangeline. No,
Out of the Ogallala.
Ogallala.
They did.
And so he was taking it to sell it to any city around. So it's been going on for a long time.
Actually, that's what resulted in the Article 16, Section 69 in 1949.
No,
That aquifer was being
Depleted. No,
Depleted.
it's way too late for them. I think. But I think those things were done. We did them well. We, the board, I think, did that well. And I think there were a lot of, one of the biggest things about the Supreme Court, remember they ruled that property right, it was, you own the water underneath your property.
Yes.
And for a long time, it didn't matter whose water you sucked up. If you got it through this well, it was yours.
Yes.
And I'm using it, so you can't bother me for depleting yours.
Correct.
But one of the things that has never come up since that ruling came out was it, at the end of the sentence, it said something about, except for some regulation to protect.
Mhm.
And that's never been quoted. It's all about the property owners can do this.
Yes. They did
Well,
emphasize that the
we forgot.
property rights supersede because it's constitutional.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
also says you can regulate to some,
To some degree, but if
if you don't want to, you won't.
well, you open it yourself up to a lawsuit if you
Yeah.
do that,
Uh,
if you do say no.
If you're afraid of a lawsuit, you shouldn't be a regulator.
okay, that's a great discussion.
was a-
Marta, I
it was a
appreciate
good
it.
meeting.
And most of what you did, you summarized the GMA Joint Planning Committee.
I would recommend that if you haven't watched it, to watch it because there's a lot more they talk about and metrics, balancing test, et cetera. And you can't watch it often, or if you watch it once, it's good. If you watch it twice, it's even better because you keep picking up things about water and conservation.
I think you did a fine job.
Thank you.
Took me a long time to learn any of that.
Are you interested in doing that again tomorrow? Because there's a GMA 14 meeting tomorrow, and
That's-
will be. But
That's the one I would,
I'm not
Yeah.
sure who has coverage there, but
is it in the,
it is.
It's in
Conroe?
Conroe, it's in
so
Conroe.
that one's a good one because that's where the other entities that share these aquifers all
These
get
meetings
together.
are online and live.
Yeah.
Where can people find those, Martin, to watch?
It's in the Lone Star Conservation District website. And then you go under meetings, and this meeting was on September 17th. The next day, they had another meeting on September 18th. I comment on that meeting. But it was interesting to learn, you know, we think that it's so easy to change things, but it would take legal action to change.
Well,
Or a
that's to
change.
be determined.
You could take,
Okay,
public opinion would be
yeah,
nice.
I mean, if the board was changed down, behavior would change,
That's true.
could change,
Could change.
okay? So I don't think you need to limit that says you have to have legal action. You have to have some action.
Well, some, because you still have to, the property rights do supersede a lot of things legally. But
Well, we only have one lawyer in the room, so let's limit our legal interpretation to.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm just going by the sentiment that
What
was
these
expressed
lawyers
at the
said, you
meeting.
could find other lawyers that say something
Correct.
different.
You are right,
And,
that they
Right.
did express that.
That's why I wanted to know the panel.
Yeah.
They did say that at the meeting. that We're not in agreement with all of this.
And they're usually like,
Meanwhile, they get billed. for
Right,
hours.
yeah.
They will pay, and they will take your business in.
Okay, before we go down that rabbit hole anymore, thanks so much, Marta. That was, and as you mentioned, both videos are online. The one from,
All videos.
so, okay. Eric, I think you've got something about AWBD.
Yeah,
The letter went to Brian, so I wasn't sure.
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so you'll lead us through the
It's
discussion.
more of a formality. From time to time, AWBD has opportunities. You as a member board, have the right to a single vote on various things. Their board of trustees, in this case, they have some modifications to their bylaws, which are copied in here. Nothing really significant, just some housekeeping items that they're doing. And it kind of brought up the thought, wait, we haven't really identified the representative for the MUDs in a while. So right now, currently in MUD 7, Paul, you were designated years ago. Usually the votes on a lot of things are at the conference itself, particularly trustee votes for the AWBD trustee board. But my understanding is there, you in particular on this bylaw question, we can actually apparently vote online. So if we want to. So the question for this line item is, who would you like to represent or appoint as your voting trustee or your voting person on behalf of the MUD?
MUD 7.
does it have to be it's usually at those conferences,
It
right?
usually is, but I learned this week that you can actually post that vote online.
So you could do that online now.
Yeah, if you don't.
Because none of us go to all of those.
Right, yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, my feeling, Paul, if you'd like to continue, fine. If not, we'll find somebody else to do it.
No, I'll continue. I mean, I would vote.
Well,
I mean, I'm saying I would do that, but I'm just saying that if elected,
Okay.
that I would certainly provide a vote based on the opinion of the board.
As Eric said, these are, you read these are basically cleaning up the language, it's housekeeping.
Sure, yeah. But this
To me-
would carry over till,
Yeah.
for the next summer's meeting.
Right.
Which is where you get to vote on their candidates for board of
Candidates
trustees,
for the,
which is probably the most significant thing we do, but
there's not any major legislative or anything like that.
No.
That's a vote, no.
and it's really important. When I first read this, I thought, board of trustees. Oh, okay. It's the AWBD board of trustees, not the WWA for trustees.
no,
So, okay, so we have Paul being willing to continue to serve. and have a discussion, have a second? Or do you want us to vote on this or?
I don't know if we need to vote or not necessarily. Paul has been designated as it already, so you can, I think, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you could take a motion to confirm him as
That's
president.
Yeah.
Just button it up.
I make a motion to confirm Paul as our representative to the AWBD board.
I'll confirm.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Congratulations, Paul.
Thank you.
Eric, thanks for bringing that back up to us. We're clean up there. Okay, so we have a guest speaker today. Talk about our elections.
Yes, for item 15, we have the director's elections coming up in May 2nd, 2026. We will call the elections or have you call the elections at the January meetings. But for now, there is a requirement to post a notice regarding candidate filing period by December 15th. You can see on page 70 of the packets, there's a sample of what that notice looks like. It'll be posted at this admin building, the in-district posting location, and on the website. You can see on there, it provides the dates that filing an application is open for. That's January 14th through February 13th. And it also provides a few methods for submitting applications.
Application is available.
It'll be available on, I believe, January 14th. I think we should have them available at this building for,
This first time you can do it. We get it here. And I'm a good politician.
Are they online?
Not yet.
Not yet, but they will be. Yeah.
we would just need a motion to authorize SBH to prepare and post that notice on behalf of the board.
Have a second? Second? Okay. All in favor of authorizing them to proceeding with publishing this? Say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
So one thing related to this, it wasn't related to our motion, but I know in the past, there's been some discussion about what services were provided to incumbents versus non-incumbents. And I think it's important that we make sure that both incumbents and non-incumbents are treated equally as far as services provided and getting the forms filled out. So I don't know whether this has come up before. Okay. So I think that's one thing we want to be careful of, that we don't provide any assistance to incumbents that we don't provide for non-incumbents. Okay.
Why we would treat anyone different.
Having the WWA staff fill out the form for incumbents and not for non-incumbents. Okay. So that's something that's been talked about.
Yeah, no one's talked to me about it.
Okay. Well,
I don't know what to do.
okay. But you understand what I'm talking about now.
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, why would we? Yeah.
So I think in the past, Shelley has completed the forms for the incumbents, and also all the incumbents had to do was sign the form. Is that right, Shelley?
It automatically populates the form. So it just takes their address and populates the form with all the information that's needed. It's not, I don't go through and handwrite the 20
Yeah,
pages of
but
it.
you can't do that for non-incumbents, right? Yeah. So the question is the WWA facilitating the filing of incumbents versus non-incumbents?
I see what you're saying. You're basically saying, anybody who wants to run, they don't want to have WWA doing any sort of facilitating for anybody showing favoritism potentially, or any sort of, just kind of leave it objective, even though it's like, oh, it's a service, that someone will
Yeah,
rerun, is if that's what you're trying to
Yeah.
say. Just kind of making sure that everything's level playing field.
Huh.
refer to legal on that because I'm not gonna go out of our way to do something different that's, legal just because folks want it differently. I don't know.
I'm just
Yeah, so.
hearing
you
them.
may-
So-
There's no intention to help one person versus the other.
Yeah.
But we do help all people that come in here, and we even have helped non-incumbents before because they don't understand how to fill out the form. So for us to say, well, I'm not gonna help you because I don't know.
Well,
Or
provide equal amount of help for all people.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I would do it, and I did have done it in the past for people coming in off the street. So
Yeah,
that's,
so I don't know where
I'll
that's coming
help
from.
anybody.
I don't know what you want to comment on that?
I'm not aware of any specific legal guidelines or anything that say you can or can't help incumbents versus non-incumbents. I'll visit with Brian about it and see
Okay,
So will I, yeah.
if there is anything in particular, then we'll get that message to you.
okay, great, thank you.
You said it's an equal playing field is basically what I'm
Right.
hearing you say.
Right.
Okay. Either way, right?
Right, yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Attending that.
Okay, great. Thanks for letting me raise that concern. You have an attorney's report or are we quiet month?
No, sir.
Okay. Jim report?
All right, just a couple minor things. We talked about the dam tour earlier. I did want to let everybody know that I was able to get all 10 MUDs to participate in the dam engineering. You hadn't seen that yet at that point, but the others followed through. So that's moving forward for everybody. Let's see. In the back, you can see on our reports, we continue to on page 72, our general manager's report, you can see that we continue to expand on and make sure that we're including a lot of information in there. One of the things I'll point out, and you are going to start seeing, particularly in MUD 7, some significant vegetative growth cutback that's about to happen. On page 75, you can see some examples of some pipe work that we're already doing. It's those types of projects and those at the bottom of the page that you'll start to also see in and around MUD 7 and other districts. But particularly right now, MUD 7 has probably the worst vegetative overgrowth in some of the ditches where you can't even access them. So we really want to hit that first, and particularly in MUD 7. And so we've had a meeting today. We're talking about we have some numbers in, and we're going to do some of that ourselves, and then have a contractor do some of the heavier work. So we're going to hit that first.
That's great.
Basically mowers,
What?
mowers going in and.
No.
What is this?
We mow quarterly already. This
This
is,
is even deeper.
this is,
Branch removal.
she
and-
put some pictures. So, if the ditch looks like this, and then at the top of the ditch, there should be what's called a berm or an maintenance access. And right now, if you looked at it, the trees from the fence line or the right of way are so overgrown that they're actually overgrown over here. So there's not even any way to drive down what should be the flat part.
So the vegetation you're talking about is basically tree and.
Tree and
Vine.
brush, junk,
Okay.
overgrowth. It's just occurred
I got
over
it.
many, many years. So we need to push that back. It's not like heavy tree taking down trees. It's just more, I would call it trimming, heavy trimming to push that coverage back so that we can then access to get some of these pipe areas that we can't even get to with the heavier equipment necessary to do them. So, yeah. And it just so happens that for some reason, some of the MUD 7 ditch is particularly in the southern chunk, pretty rough. So they'll look a lot better. We are doing in that regard too. We've drafted a notice to the residents because we want to be transparent that, hey, we're going to be right behind your fence likely, and you're going to hear some stuff and, that type of thing. So just so they know that it's coming.
Great.
I had a question on page 73. At the top, talking about the work you're doing, and this is where you got note as of 11/10, the newly placed posts and cable located in Glen Eagle has been completely removed. Was that good or bad? I didn't know. That's what okay.
The new side.
So you put new stuff out and somebody came and removed it?
do it again, but with concrete this time.
So are they removing it so they can take their four-wheelers down there?
Says it, yeah.
My gosh.
Okay, this is 39, so where this is up east of 45.
You know, electrify it this time?
It's, it's not uncommon. It happens to be adjacent to another subdivision outside of the Woodlands that has, quite frankly, a lot more interest in ATV and motorized vehicle travel. And they use the ditches and run them. And they damage it. And in order to get through and get onto the facility, they use these access ways. And we'll sometimes put a gate across, like a bar gate, or sometimes these cable wires that are, with posts. In order for the police to really get involved, we have to put these signs. That's what you see that gives them the right or the opportunity to then, give them tickets and whatnot. So we did the signs, we tried to shore up the access, and the individuals are stealing signs and still cutting down the access barriers.
Do we have cameras?
I was thinking that.
We're talking about stuff, different options. Yeah. Yeah. We don't necessarily have this issue in the main central of the Woodlands and all of the other ditches, but it's a problem up there.
Okay, I read that and it caught my attention. I thought, this sounds really bad. But I just want to make sure that, yeah, okay. Okay.
Had included an article that I saw in the Chronicle. There's another article read since then that we'll put in the January meeting post. Just a couple pieces on MUDs, the special districts. And we can talk offline on that. We added in, I like to include some thank yous that we received from customers. Always appreciate that feedback when we get it. And I think that was all I had. I just wanted to kick it to John for communications.
Page 85 is your communications report. There at top, infrastructure renewal communications. So we've been talking about a couple items for a while now that have come through, finally are live on that renewal website. So the GIS-based interactive map is there. So if you haven't played with that, check that out. Pretty cool tool to better understand what's happening with projects throughout the community. And then we have our renewal video is now live on the website as well. And there'll be some other iterations of that. We've got another version coming that's going to splice in interviews from a variety of folks about renewal. So we'll make you aware when that version comes out. We're also working on a couple videos for Woodlands Water. We did some filming last week, and we hope to have those produced or published after the first of the year. One is just a general introduction to who we are, what we do, put a face to the agency, and then the other is helping folks understand where water comes from. There'll be some animation in that, and it's more of an instructional video. Water Smart just crested 80% on registrations. So that's a nice, big fat number there. We're excited to see that. 27,000 plus customers now registered. So. On page 86, I thought I'd give you some stats on the weekly, Woodlands Water Weekly, since we're nearing the end of the year. So if we look at the past 12 months, we've maintained around 73% open rate. So 73% of people that receive that are looking at it in one form or another. So that totaled 860,000 people opened a Woodlands Water Weekly email this past year and looked at it out of a total of 1.36 million sends. So that's a really key tool for us. On page 88, some more stats for you on social media. You're aware we hired our social media manager, Stephanie Williams, back beginning of June. And so she's been really helping us move the needle. We've seen that reflected in a couple stats here. Facebook interactions are up 77% in that 5-month period relative to the previous 5-month period. LinkedIn up 500% in interactions since she's been on board. So she's knocking it out of the park for us. With that said, a lot of room to grow. We talk about reach. we really have a lot of opportunity to expand that, especially when we think about our younger customers and the platforms that they're tuning into. You know, really they're in their infancy as far as we're concerned. They're fairly new to us. And so lots of room to grow there, but we're excited about the progress that we've made since she's been on. And with that, any questions?
I appreciate you adding this thing about from the Chronicle on special districts. They've had two recent articles, why are Houston suburbs sinking? And,
Yeah, that was late prior to that one.
yeah, these suburbs, these suburbs are sinking the fastest. Why? What's going on? Could we get copies of those too? Because some of them are behind the paywall and I've been challenged to read.
But they weren't actually, I don't think they were in the paper. I got a email from the Chronicle that had those two.
Yeah,
I couldn't find it in the paper.
Oh, yeah. When I say paper, I meant website.
There's three. So this was one. I pulled this and then I saw the other ones, but we were already going to print with this. So
Okay.
I've got the other two that we're going to get to you.
So they have a map on there, which I know you played with it, that you can go and interactive map, and it looks like you can click on it and it tells you what your subsidence has been over the last time period. Okay.
Right.
Is that something we could link to ours? So
What?
to our WWA site, if people want to investigate subsidence?
Probably.
I'm not sure what the origin of the map was. I have,
Yeah. I mean,
Make
I
sure of
played with,
that.
I played a little bit, and I mean, it's a whole region, and there's dots, and there's some dots in the woodlands. So I don't know whether it's the
USGS.
USGS.
That's what I was going to
Data.
say. Hopefully that would be the data.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a meeting with the general manager for Harris Galveston Subsidence District last week, I think it was, and he let me on that they're just finishing up their own updated subsidence report, and that'll be coming out here soon. So as soon as I get that, I'll be sharing that with you as well. And we can-
USGS has been off during the whole shutdown. They
Oh, yeah, from,
for the almost 2 months, 40 days. They're back at work. So
But yes, all that stuff will get
okay.
available.
Okay, trustee report. On 91. Well, I don't know, do you want to cover the GRP meeting on page 90? Think about that, you want
Yeah,
to,
we
the rate impact potentially.
Great impact. I talked with Ed this week, and I think SRA is kind of sharpening their pencil on that just to make sure that they can get all the refundings that they on their preliminary look. So more to come on that. We're gonna probably try to get a meeting together, but it may be after the first of the year because they're working on some of their reports. Fine tune what that ends up looking like. But what I can report is what we did at the GRP meeting, which is what was before us was to look at how to potentially use the Conroe settlement money, which was 18.8. The idea was to put 18.3 towards bond defeasance, and then about $500,000 of that would go to the R&R fund. And then really separate from that, but associated with it, just because it had a potential rate impact, was that SJ looked at potential refunding of old bond issues to see if there was any value in doing a refunding, which is essentially like a refinancing, to potentially lower the overall tax or overall debt burden. And so that would have a potential rate impact as well. That would be positive. So more to come on that, but the committee recommended to the GRP board or to the SRA board. I don't believe they voted on anything at this point because I think they're still trying to work through the numbers officially.
So what they did talk about was having the rate reduction go in January 1, deferring that for February 1. Are we still on track for February, or do we think it'll slide?
Positive slide.
Can you comment why?
Not in full detail.
Okay.
Because of not being able to move forward right away with the refunding. The original idea was do the refunding and then incorporate the additional volume of surface water sales, which creates also a reduction in rate. We're still talking about what we can get accomplished. What the goal was to try and only do one rate reduction, but that doesn't look like that can happen right away. So now we have to decide whether we can go ahead and with one of the rate reductions associated with the increase in surface water delivery to Conroe. So that's still being discussed internally.
Okay. I guess the feeling is if the timeline between the throughput impact versus the bond impact is significant, let's say 6 months, do we want to go ahead and, is it advantageous to our customers to have one rate reduction and then come back 6 months later and do another rate reduction?
It just depends on the timing of decisions that we're waiting on to be able to do the refunding.
I certainly appreciate, we don't want to do one rate reduction, then 1 month later do another rate reduction. But if that time gap extends, we might want to go ahead and look at doing one early and then one later.
That's something the SJA board will have to decide.
Yeah. Anything else for the manager report?
Done.
Okay. Trustee report, it's in the package, folding together. A lot of verbiage on the flood planning group. You can read that. That information was posted. They've got a January 7th deadline, which will be submitted by that. Unaccounted water losses, we talked about that. So the top of page 92 has a nice summary of Chris shared some of his observations on the well level information.
Mhm.
So, the 2022 study said, in potentially about 15 years, with the declines continue as they have been, some of our Evangeline wells will need to be capped. I think that's the most significant commentary that goes with those those charts that are there. Eric led the discussion on the GRP and the potential rate reduction. So I guess in summary, it sounds like the 10 cent is soft now, we're at risk.
Well, it's undetermined as to when we can possibly impose that reduction.
But I mean, not only the timing, but the amount, or is the 10 cents still looking good?
The 10 cents would have been part of the refunding. And so right now it's off the table until we have better information on what we can do with the refunding.
Okay.
So what your plan is to evaluate the options and then determine whether it will be a rate reduction, a retirement of refinancing of bonds, current bonds.
Or just a defeasance. A lot of things to deal with.
Any other questions on trustee items? Eric, I missed anything? Okay. Anything need for a closed session? Okay, we will need to reconvene. Items for future agenda, and I guess the most pressing thing is, are we meeting in December or not? So I think you were gonna make a recommendation.
I was going to make a recommendation that we would not have a December meeting unless there was a reason that you felt we needed to at this point. As far as the items or potential agenda items that I've got, I don't think we need to. So certainly if something comes up, we can call one and you would know in advance it'd be at the same time. But at this point, I'm proposing that we would not unless you feel otherwise.
And that's consistent with what the trustees are doing.
Correct.
I don't think we should meet in December. I'm fully on board with Eric's recommendations. I don't think there's that much to cover.
Last December, we had that special all directors meeting on one of the engineering consultants. We didn't have our normal meeting either.
Do we have to make a motion to,
We don't need to.
just to
Not much.
So we'll look for your guidance if you see a need, if trustees jump in and decide they need to meet and there's any follow-up, drop us an email.
At this point, it's, we won't, so if you don't hear from me, then you're clear.
I'll turn my email off.
Yeah.
I didn't get the
We'll
email.
find you.
Okay, any other topics? For
I,
next?
I would like to say, of course, about going back to the meeting, that I would encourage people to watch the one tomorrow, the GMA. Because we talked about desired future conditions. And it's, unless it's changed, the desired future conditions are established by the GMA, not Lone Star. Lone Star can have its ideas, but GMA is made up of the other counties and that are in the same area. They vote to establish DFCs based on all the science they've seen prior and all the usage, et cetera.
That one's at 10 o'clock.
Send it 10.
I would just
I think it's
encourage,
10.
because that's
Yes.
got a lot to do with it.
That is 10, you're right.
The region gets to talk about what.
Yeah.
Do
Lone Star
they
is doing.
broadcast it live?
I know they do Lone Star meetings. I don't know.
I
if
think
they-
that's why they're at the Lone Star office, is so
They're
that they
doing-
can live
I
stream.
know they're recording it for
That's the
sure.
live stream.
Not sure if they live the GMA 14s.
No.
Thank you.
Did you say that it was going to be live streamed?
They normally live stream them, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else?
Done.
Meeting is adjourned. 26.